YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and we are getting ready for an education display. Give me 1 second, I gotta put one more rattlesnake in the cage we just prepped, and then I'll tell you what we're doing, and I'll show everything off to you. We'll walk you through this. We're using our Venomous bucket. This is a smaller species. So once you get this unlocked, the trick is to hold it here, lift so your hand stays safe, out the way. Look in here, we got a little Massasauga in here. I'll move that closer. I say little, but this is actually an adult. By little, I mean it's just a little species of snake. You gonna stay on my hook? Come on, buddy. That's where you wanna do it. Of course, we're using one of our new hooks that we got from the Venom Gear, or VenomLifeGear.com, I should say, which is Get Hooked. And that is the Viper series, which is great for these little snakes like this. I know, you really wanna bite me, but you're not gonna get to. And so there we go. And then because we are in public and we're doing a display, I gotta go ahead and put the lock on here so we can get this done before anybody shows up. But you wanna definitely make sure things like this are safe, because that is kind of important, right? So, locked on, back in the enclosure, ready to go. So let me show you kind of what we have here. So people are gonna come in the front doors here. We're at the Flint Hills Discovery Center located in Manhattan, Kansas. One of the first things we're gonna see are all the native venomous snakes of Kansas. So that's what this is, everything that occurs in Kansas, mostly the natural type with one exception. The first thing we have here is a prairie rattlesnake. So these are going to occur in western Kansas, where there's a lot of prairie dogs, things like that. This is the one that was born here in-house. Now this is not its normal display cage. We usually keep it on more of a sand-dirt mix, not a pure sand. This is just a cage we have it in for today. It'll go back to its zoo display cage in our zoo. The cages there are very basic. We pulled the hides, that way people could actually see the animals, but these guys do get hides. Of course, next, it's one of my personal favorites. This is my big timber rattlesnake named Reaper. Now he is an Oklahoma timber rattlesnake out of Stillwater. He's a little bit lighter than the Kansas version. He also has a darker eye stripe than most of the Kansas version you'll see, but he's a big, impressive timber nonetheless. So we have him here. Once you get past that, you get to this stack, which is one of the stacks that's in our zoo, some of our smaller venomous species, and that includes our copperhead, who is native to Riley County. We caught here in the county. Below that is a Massasauga. They're also native to here, but this is a captive bred one. As far as I know, we did not catch it. It came with the collection we took over. And below that is our cottonmouth that did have an eye injury and is a one-eyed snake, unfortunately, but it still eats and does everything just fine. We're just having to treat that, but it is not gonna have vision in that one eye. Then last but not least, we did bring one morph snake with us, and that is a Western Diamondback rattlesnake, but this is our scaleless Western Diamondback. And you may be saying, well, why would you do that for an educational thing? Well, here's the deal. I actually don't have a normal Western Diamondback. All I have for Westerns are different morphs and different things. So every year when we bring a Western, we bring something kind of exotic, just add a little pop to the display. We've been coming to this display before. This is not our first time. Why do we do stuff like this? And why, if you're a snake keeper, should you do things like this? Well, it educates the public. I can't tell you how many times I get pictures sent to me, and it's usually, unfortunately, a dead bull snake that somebody's taken a shovel to. And they went, hey, I found this, I killed it, is it dangerous? No, it's not. That was a great snake to have around. It wasn't gonna hurt anybody. And you don't even need to kill these. We can move these for you, or you can just let them be if you find them in the woods. So the big thing is to let people know what's here, let them see what the venomous snakes that are native to Kansas, where they're at, where they're located, what they look like, get a chance safely to see them. And you're reaching people who normally wouldn't go to a reptile shop, or normally they wouldn't go to necessarily a zoo, because this is at a museum where it's attracting a lot of people on an event here from the community that aren't necessarily reptile people, but they all come through this door, they all get curious, and they all want to see. So you get to reach out and touch those folks. When you get a chance to do an education event as a reptile person, man, I think you got to seize that opportunity. They don't come around enough, and they're an amazing chance to do. Something else we do is we keep all kinds of tools around so we can show some of the field like tongs that people can use. Some of them are pretty crude, and then also different hooks. Like this is a Midwest tongs hook. Of course, over here is a pair of tongs that my grandfather built 40 or 50 years ago. I much prefer them over the other ones. They actually work really well and are actually fairly humane because they do leave a gap. And of course, since we're in Manhattan, I'm showing off our custom hook with the K-State Wildcats and the purple skulls. And that's the hook that I personally used to handle. Over here on the rack, we keep our small Viper hook, showing we used to handle that. We also keep our Venomous reptile bucket so they can see those tools. And then over here we have a more like an indoor set of tongs with the flat panels. and also just another snake hook just to pretty up the display. We're also showing some different things you can wear if you're out in the woods, like the snake gaiters that will protect you and keep you safe, and also some snake boots. So there's equipment that we're showing we can talk to people about that'll keep them safe rather than using a shovel. We can also show them the snakes, talk about where they're from, talk about what to do if they come into a counter with one and they hear a rattle, just to stop and let the thing go on its own rather than trying to like deal with it where you're more likely to get bit. So these events are amazing. I don't know how many people will get through the door, but we'll get a good number. I know we did last time we did one, and it's just a wonderful thing to do. So we're really looking forward to doing this. And one thing I want to implore on you guys is if you get the chance, do it. But do it happily. You know, you're going to hear some things that, you're still going to hear the only good snakes are dead. You're going to hear some of that. But don't let that get you down, because remember, you're just trying to change the attitude of a few people. If you keep doing them and you constantly are changing a few people, you're making a difference. You're never going to change everybody all at once. It's just impossible to do. It's one at a time, and it's this kind of outreach with these venomous snakes that helps the understanding. And like I say, all these being found in Kansas. So let's talk about where, for those of you that don't know. Prairie's western Kansas, Timbers here in Manhattan, Riley County being the western edge. Copperheads, we're pretty much getting to the edge of it. They do go a little bit further. We actually have the range maps on these since there are zoo cages. And you can see about half the state has those. All of the state has Massasaugas. Now the cottonmouth down there, which is also the water moccasin, same exact snake, right? They are only found in extreme southeastern Kansas, and there's very few specimens been located in the Neosho River Basin, mostly in Cherokee County. But they're not native here. It's one of the most important ones for us to show, because everybody I talk to is like, oh, I saw them at this lake, or I saw them at that lake, or I got them in my creek. No, you don't. So people are needlessly killing water snakes. We're able to show the difference and show that they don't have them, show where they're at, and get people to leave water snakes alone. And then, of course, the western diamondback. Now, this is some known range. It just extends about a mile into Kansas. If you look at a lot of range maps, where that range from Oklahoma just barely comes up in. And there's also an introduced population in Lake Canopolis. So they are definitely here in Kansas, but they're going to be the most rare snake. Them and the cottonmouth will be the two that you're likely never going to see in your entire lifetime in Kansas, but are known to be here selectively. Timbers are another one you don't see too many of, but we do have them. Unfortunately, where I live, we have them, and I do occasionally, about once a year, I find one that's been hit on the road, which is sad, but it does happen. So really cool. Kurt, anything you want to add?
What's the most asked question you have at these events?
Well, it's usually going to be, which one's the worst to get bit by? I get asked like, which one's the most venomous, which it depends. Every year we always bring all these same species, and I'll tell people that if you look at scales, this actually has a hotter venom than the western, but the western can produce so much more venom, it can provide the worst bite. So I get asked that question a lot. Where are they at? A lot. And then why do you have them? We get asked that pretty routinely. So I would say those are the main questions we get. And all the excitement from kids is just, it'll blow you away when you see kids come in and they get right up close and they're so excited to see it and they're just happy. And even if their mom stayed in the back corner wishing they weren't here, the kids are excited. And if you change them now, you're going to change them 15 years from now. And that's going to make all the difference, especially for species in areas like Timbers that are having to make a comeback on the East Coast. And even in Kansas are really rare. You can really help that species a lot by educating the young people that in 10 or 15 years will be the one that's going to swerve around one or slowly go around it rather than purposely hit it on the road. So the work you do at an education event for these species is worth its weight in gold. Any other questions, Kurt?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next week.